Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the discussion and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Mark Doxey, Sleeping Warrior, Chocolate Saiyan, and Arwin. Good to have you all.
Yo.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hello. Oh, Mark's on mute.
Mark's on mute.
Hello to Mark as well, and Chocolate.
Good morning. So, what do you all know?
Well, after the demonstration yesterday from Zachary Sabala, otherwise known as Good Times for All, GUDTIMS number 4 ALL, he basically got me to the point where I'm going to have to modify my language slightly. So I'm going to stop calling it perspective omitting curve calculator, or begging the question proof of nothing perspective omitting curve calculator, and change it to perspective hijacking, because upon closer examination the entire calculation is just a co-opting or hijacking of perspective. It's not like one element has just ignored perspective, which is what I've been essentially saying. So it's a hijack, not an omission. And I think I'll have to modify my language from now on to say exactly that, because they've hijacked.
So it's even worse than we thought then?
Yeah. Yeah, they've essentially hijacked perspective.
That is technically correct. Yeah.
Thanks,
What else do I know? Well, let's do housekeeping. Last time, the first show, it ended up being an hour of me trying to get through about 5 questions, so I'll rattle through them really quick. Bit of housekeeping. Any signs of curvature?
No.
No.
No. Axial rotation? Any signs of that?
Axial rotation.
Earthbound? No record players, please.
I saw somebody rotating an X in the video.
I already got beat to it and said no record players, Earth-based only.
Nope.
It was an actual axe.
Say again, Owen?
It was an actual axe.
Oh, an axe, as in axe rotation?
Yeah.
I see. No, earthbound axial rotation. Just one more time, just in case there was one that slipped through in the hustle and bustle. Any signs of axial rotation?
9.
9? No. Okie dokie.
Oh, no, actually, that might not be true. I believe the rumour mill's been stirring, and I believe that there's a gyroscope test that's due to come out soon. And the argument that there appears that there could be an argument for axial rotation. It's something to do with something called a fibre optic gyro test that's been done. And some people are saying it's proven that the Earth rotates. Other people are saying, don't be ridiculous, it's clearly the ether that's rotating. And the question becomes, it is a matter of fact that something is rotating. But the issue is it the ether or is it the Earth?
Or the gyroscope?
If it's the Earth, why don't know? What?
Or the gyroscope. We had this conversation yesterday. You know, it kind of... this is going to piss a lot of flat earthers off, and I don't care. If you're going to assert that a gyroscope is useful for proving that the Earth is spinning, and then say, well, that's nonsense, you can't prove it, but then use the exact same thing to say, well, it's the ether that's spinning, it's no way scientifically valid. You can't express that that's... It just... It frustrates me that we're kind of doing the same thing as the globe heads if we do this. You know, we're using their standard of pseudoscience to prove something that we can't prove.
I think what you're illustrating is the problems with it, because it's divided as to what's being moved. Is it the Earth that's moving, or is it the ether above us? Now, in science, the ether is not even acknowledged to exist, so therefore it has to be the Earth. But all the tests that have been done around the early 1900s were all concluding it was the ether that was moving. And that's where Einstein came into it to say, well, actually, it was the Earth that's moving, but we can't feel it because we're relative to it. Hence his introduction of the relativity theory. But this gyroscope test that's happening right now, or that has happened, is kind of causing splits because people don't know what it's causing. So when you say that it's not scientific, you are quite right, because they can't prove what the cause is. They just know something's moving. So they haven't established cause. There isn't the causative effect. There's no cause. There's no effect. They just know that what the effect is, but they're arguing over what the cause is, because some people say it's the ether, some people say it's the Earth. And there's no conclusion at the moment, but there is something in the way to say that axial rotation might be a thing. But I guess we'll have to wait until we hear more information before we can discuss it, because I don't know enough about it to know what the ins and outs of it are. I just know that there was something.
That's fair enough. I mean,
What?
keep me posted. I'm interested to hear about it. Obviously, it's on topic, so very interesting. Did you want to add something, Arwin, before I ask for proof of a pressurized system next to a vacuum?
Well, I'm just wondering, like, what is this experiment like? What is it any different? Because the whole thing about gyroscope is that there is a physical body staying in place and not being affected by other forces, and that is just a provable fact. Anyone can prove that. So now it's supposed to be doing something else, or what is this?
I don't know enough about it. I just know that there is a discussion currently between certain aspects of the discussion about what was moving. Something's clearly moving, but they can't prove what, and that not being able to prove it is a division. So there's people that are fighting with each other about what is it actually proving. And as Nathan points out, it's not within the scientific method. It's not proving a causal relationship between what you think it's. You don't know what's moving. You can't tell if it's the Earth or the sky.
What movement?
Something's moving in the gyro at 15 degrees an hour. But the question is, what is it detecting?
Really?
Yeah.
And that's the first I've heard of that.
Yeah.
We're not talking mechanical gyros here.
No, it's a fiber optic gyro, and I don't even know what a fiber optic gyro is, and I don't understand any part of it. All I know is that there has been a test. It did detect 15 degrees of movement in the hour, and the argument is what's moving, which is the same argument that we see the stars are moving, but it's not the stars.
Hold on. Is like can be made of fiber optic. It wouldn't matter. Material. It's about matter. If matter is going to be spinning like a gyro, then it will stabilize according to the momentum principles. So you can't gyroscope light. Okay, the physics don't work on
I agree.
Non-physical things.
I agree. The way I see it is, if it was the Earth that's rotating, and John Savage proved that you could detect a 15-degree rotation with a gyroscope if you put it on a mounted plate that span at 15 degrees an hour, then that tells me that it can't be the Earth that's spinning. It proves it for me conclusively. But some people want to believe that it's the Earth that's moving, and because I think what made it more complicated was they put it inside some equivalent to a Faraday cage, which is supposed to block out electromagnetic shielding. But the argument against it is that it didn't block out the ether, because the ether can penetrate a Faraday cage, but apparently the ether doesn't even exist. So it depends on whether you accept that ethers exist or not, and it depends on whether you think that a Faraday cage or equivalent is effective enough at blocking it out.
I'm going to read the description of what a fiber optic gyroscope is. A fiber optic gyroscope senses changes in orientation using the Sagnac effect, thus performing the function of a mechanical gyroscope. However, its principle of operation is instead based on the interference of light, which is passed through a coil of optical fiber, which can be as long as 5 kilometers.
Well,
how is that a gyroscope?
I don't know. All I can tell you is that it's causing division, and there is a discussion currently, and it has been for the last week or two. But who knows? We'll have to wait and find out, because it's something that FE Core are looking into, and different people are challenging and questioning and stuff. But I noticed yesterday, slightly off topic, I noticed that Brenda Van Assen said, "Unblock me, Riley." Tell you what I'll do, Brenda. I'll unblock you if you come on camera. Seems fair. Otherwise, you can stay blocked, because I don't think you add anything to the conversation. I think you're an idiot.
Okay, let's move on to... we didn't get past this one. So, pressurized system next to a vacuum. Has anybody had any demonstrations of that?
We're all aware of M. Scott Veitch and the astronaut's chamber. So let's keep applying pressure on M. Scott Veach to make this happen. Let's get an astronaut suit. Let's chuck M. Scott Veach in it, shut the door, and we'll get Nathan to pull the lever, and then we'll see what happens. And if he survives, then we'll send Mark Sargent in afterwards. So that gives some credibility to the idea that a pressurized environment could be able to sustain a spaceman in a spacesuit. Not that it doesn't really give you the pressurized system against a vacuum of space, but at least gives credibility to the possibility that it could be up there if we got high enough.
Okay.
So he's agreed to do that.
Who? Mark Sargent challenged. He said if anybody, Mark wants the challenge, and M. Scott Veach's daddy was an astronaut, apparently. So if daddy was an astronaut and M. Scott Veach is still around to be able to do this, I'm sure he's got the ability to get hold of a NASA suit. And if he digs a little bit further, I'm sure he'll be able to get hold of a NASA suit and a vac chamber. So we'll just get Nathan over there to pull the lever as he walks in, and we'll see him in about 40 minutes once it gets rid of all the air, and we'll just watch his eyeballs get sucked out of his head.
I'm sure he can contact the NASA prop department to get hold of a spacesuit, can't he?
Yeah.
It'd be costume,
yeah, the
my
prop
bad.
cupboard.
Costume, not props. My bad.
No, a prop cupboard would be better. It'd be in there. Wouldn't it be a prop rather? Not real.
Nah, it's a costume. Prop means property, like an object. Costume is something you wear. So.
I thought prop meant it was like they use it as a prop, but it's not real. It's like fake. Like the box inside is empty, but it looks like it's a TV or whatever.
No, it just means property.
Right, okay. I didn't know that.
In movie terminologies, it means just an extra object to add to the scenery.
Anyway, jeez. Has anyone had any signs of a self-perpetuating molten iron core?
Paul Voigt claims to have that evidence, so we're looking for Paul to rejoin. If anybody sees Paul Voigt, there's a ransom on his head. We want to see this evidence that you claim exists, Paul. Even if it's inductive magnetization, let's see what you've got.
Any other signs of a self-perpetuating molten iron core, or is that it? Paul Voigt and his words.
Well, we know that when they dug the deepest hole in history, they call a super deep borehole in Russia somewhere, that when they were digging down there, they were getting boiling hydrogen mud that was coming out of it. Now, if it was supposed to be iron, you'd expect it to be boiling iron or boiling nickel mud, but it came out as hydrogen. So that doesn't support the notion that there's a boiling iron, anything down there. But that's the claim. So there's evidence against that idea, but who knows? The answer to your question, sir, is no.
Fair enough. Any signs of R?
No.
R.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Seriously?
Oh.
Nobody's come up with scientific evidence to back the radius used in all their calculations? You're kidding. There must be someone.
Well, there was a claim for curvature of visual space, and it was based on like this kitchen top worktop environment that me and Nathan could conjure up, but that's being cited as credible evidence to prove this point they're trying to make, and we discussed it yesterday. It was ridiculous. But if you're a ball Earth believer, you're going to accept it as proof, but there's nothing in it that makes you think that it's credible because they keep telling us that we live on a plane.
Fair enough. Right, last but not least, any scientific...
Documents.
Go on, Chocolate. Sorry, my bad.
No, it's okay. I was just say the way NASA documents describe the Earth as non-rotating and flat, coming from NASA themselves, like that's just crazy. But
oh yeah, but it's only so they can calculate the trajectory. It's not for real world. It's just so they can make the calculations work because it's a lot easier.
Oh yeah.
Because of course, making something as complicated as a sphere is really, really sensible to make it as simple as a flat plane, because that would make it just work, wouldn't it? Ignore the fact that it's a sphere. That'll just work out, because that makes sense, right?
Yeah, I mean that's literally what the ballers claim.
You, the double-speaking ballers in chat, who say that's not what it really meant. By flat plane, they meant curved Earth. Can't you read?
Oh, the other thing, of course, is that they keep now they're telling us, these guys, that I'll have to go on mute. Hang on a sec.
No worries. Did I do gravity? Any scientific evidence of gravity, or is that what we're covering now?
Yeah, that's the next one.
No signs of gravitational pull.
Say again, Arwin?
Oh.
No signs of gravitational pull.
No scientific evidence of gravity.
Gravitational pull.
Pull. Gravitational pull. Newtonian gravity, aka. Okay, that concludes the housekeeping. Cool. Excellent. Marvellous. Splendid. When Anthony gets back, we'll discuss the namesake of this show. I'll fight you for it.
Shout out to Patricia in the chat.
Trisha who?
Steer.
Trisha in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Have a look,
Oh
see
yeah,
if she's
and
real.
guys, of course, check out my appearance today before the show on Iron Realm Media and Truth Frequency Radio at a almost 2-hour discussion with the guys. It was really good.
You were on Iron Realm? this
Yeah.
morning?
I thought it was going to be this evening, but then, like, doing my morning routine, and he was like, "Hey, are you ready? We're on in 30 minutes." What? Okay. Yeah. So, but it went excellent despite all the heat, because it's really hot in the
pretty
mornings
awesome.
here.
Nathan, is it okay if I give a shout out to some not flat Earth related, just because I want to feel good about it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Shout out to my neighbours that have been dodging the law for the last 15 years. Finally, the police busted the front doors in this morning at 5 a.m. And I'm hoping they got a good stash find, because my neighbour's driving around in a Ferrari and he's never really done a day's work in his life. So shout out to the police. It's about took you 15 years, but at least they've done something. Yay!
Can you
The
tell-
other thing was,
Better late than never, I guess.
yeah, it's took him 15 years to catch up with the bugger. He's there flaunting his wealth, his perceived wealth, with like driving around in a Ferrari, right? And he doesn't even work. It's bizarre. I don't want to go too much into it because it's totally off topic. I just wanted to give a
Right.
shout out to my neighbour.
What kind of
Yay.
Ferrari? Do you know?
Yeah.
What kind of
Talk about
Ferrari?
flaunting your wealth.
What kind of Ferrari?
A red one.
That's no good. That's a girl's answer.
Well, to be honest, I've not seen him for years. So I mean, he comes and goes like he's like a drug dealer. Like, so I don't really see him. But I've only heard recently that he's got a Ferrari, and then as quick as he's got it, the police have took it off him. Yay!
Bummer. You didn't even get to. If he's your neighbour, you could have asked for a go.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so
Right.
whilst we've got, how many people we got?
153.
63.
Hang on, I'll just turn something
53.
on. Let me just turn this off.
I've got an
Right,
accurate
so-
count on my little box, so whatever the chat says is slightly off. 160 now. There you go. Anyway,
160. Well, that's enough. Let me give an update on the water topic, because the water was discussed at length yesterday, and we seem to have got conclusions that there was in fact hydrogen in water. And last night, the science teacher released a video basically proving, or at least providing evidence, that there was also hydrogen as well as oxygen in water. And as far as I was concerned, that was the end of it there. I thought that must be the end of it now. That should be the end of it. You guys walk away from this one quietly. But it turns out that that's not what's happened overnight, or certainly in the late hours of last night. It seems that not only have they not walking away from this one quietly, they're doubling down on the idea that water does not have oxygen or hydrogen in it, and it's an element in its own right. They've actually doubled down on this, which is kind of raising the bar somewhat. They've had evidence that shows that there is hydrogen, at least in it. All right, they've not had the evidence so far that there's oxygen in it, but they're doubling down. But what's really interesting is because Sheeps is being challenged on this. And let's be honest. Let me remind people, I'm not really interested in what is the truth on this, and it's not my bad chemistry. I'm not interested in their chemistry. But what really is interesting is that Sheeps has asked him for his address so that he can quote discuss this. He's talking fighting talk. Now, what kind of response is that? I mean, he's quite aggressive at the worst of times, and now he wants to fight the guy because he's producing evidence against his claim. Come on, Sheeps, what are you doing, man? Either walk away from it quietly or produce some evidence. But don't start fighting talk, because fighting talk's ridiculous. So that's where we're up to at the moment.
yeah, what a joke.
Yeah, idiot. Sheeps, what are you doing, man?
So tell us about IRM today, Arwin.
All right.
You went on TFR with Iron Rail Media this morning.
Yes. Yeah, it was awesome. It's really nice not being interrupted. All that stuff.
Woo!
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we talked about the show too, and talked about gravity, and they let me actually explain things, and yeah,
Did
it
you
was
prove
really
anything?
good. Yeah, they're gonna help me basically formulate the scientific method to make it work, because it can be done, as I was saying earlier.
So they let you explain your views on gravity, yeah?
Yeah,
Did you present any evidence for your views?
yeah.
Oh, great. What evidence did you present?
Why don't you watch the show and find out?
Okay, then. Good answer.
Very good answer, Arwin.
Yeah. I see I am on media's in chat. I wonder if Adam's around. I could do with an update on the Adam thing because I think that Pete and Peter released a video last night, at least supporting their view on the water, and it was something to do with this little hydrogen machine that you pour water into with an electrolyzer, I think it was, or an electro something or other, and then you get the hydrogen and oxygen out of it. And I think ultimately, I think the problem is that they're ignoring or not realizing that the water will conduct electricity. You just need a lot of voltage, but it will do it. And I think it's the I think Sheep's perception is that because you have to add a catalyst into it to make it easy to conduct electricity, therefore it must be an element because you have to add something to it. I might be wrong. Don't quote me on it. But he's doubling down on the idea that it's an element in its own right. At the end of the first show yesterday, he said it twice. Water's its own element, and fuck off you, and all this and the other. And you can see, you can read the aggression in his text message. But that's the position, and it's like, come on, let's get this sorted. I thought this would have died by now. It's quite straightforward.
Arwin,
Yes.
yesterday you mentioned that you think he's trying to get up the search results, and then today we find out that he's, picking fights, which to me is just like pure publicity stunt with a nonsense claim, no evidence to back, just a circus. So can you go through why you thought it?
Well, I've been listening to Alex Jones and other things, so I know a little bit about what Google is doing to discourage certain topics, and a very solid strategy, which is also, by the way, applied on low-grade schools, as children they are being taught about the shape of the world. Well, if they just promote the most ridiculous flat earthers, the most weird looking and idiotic sounding flat earthers, those types of videos, if they always appear at the top of the search results, that will help discourage a lot of people of digging further into it. So that is a very solid strategy to discourage flat earth. They can do this with other topics too, finding the really idiotic looking, ridiculous, misquoted Alex Jones videos and let those videos appear on top. So they could do the same thing for that as well, and they will. So I was thinking, okay, maybe Sheeps and Neeps has figured it out and just thought, you know what? So if it works that way and I want a lot of attention, I want to be picked up, I just gotta act as idiotic as possible. Like, get this subject that is obviously wrong and then hammer all over it and get as dramatic about it as possible. And then I have a great chance to actually appear at the top, or at the top layer of the search results among all the fake flat earthers. And that way get some new viewers in there. So it might just be a media strategy of him.
Sorry, who's
Let me just
fake?
Risky media
hold
strategy.
on, Anthony.
because-
What do you mean fake flat earthers? Who's a fake flat earther?
Well, I think there are many fake flat earthers out there, not among our circles, people that we talk with, that we get on the show.
Anybody
But-
would know?
I don't know them personally, but I've seen many of these search results videos by people that just seem completely disingenuous. Kind of similar to the what was it again? The most popular YouTube channel in the world. What's his name again? We talked about him.
Pie or something like that.
Tweety Pie or PewDiePie.
Yeah,
something.
PewDiePie, exactly.
PewDiePie.
When he made that video, it was obviously ridiculing yet he was kind of acting like it was real or not really, that type of stuff. So disingenuous people portraying like they are flat earthers, like
I
they
think
are
we
having a
all,
flat earth debate. Those types of videos get on top, and these people are obviously not genuine flat earthers, and nobody knows who they are, but they get
I
all
think
the
you're
views and they get the highest search results.
I think we all need to be careful not to mix other subjects with our flat Earth position, because our other subjects may be totally wrong or totally wacky, and it just makes us all look stupid.
Yeah, well, as I was saying, it is a media strategy to get more views and attention, but it is basically selling yourself out to get more attention. It is a very risky strategy just to get short-term attention, but basically convoluting the groundworks of flat Earth, because you're just gonna add more ridiculous flat earthers into view. So, yeah, I would never do that.
Just out of interest, Darwin, did you ever see Stephen Chess's take on PewDiePie's videos about Flat
Yeah.
Earth?
Yeah.
What did you think of his opinion on it?
Could be.
I'll just
That
remind
means he hasn't
for the audience's benefit. So Stephen Chess's take was that if you're a mainstream, if you want to call it that, YouTuber, you know, one of the top ranking YouTubers, it would be very, very difficult to actually broach the subject of flat Earth in any sort of realistic way without just having scorn poured all over you. So how do you therefore approach this subject? Well, you approach it with some rather garbage arguments that fall apart instantly if you actually did any research. But by covering the subject with a little bit of ridicule and some rubbish arguments to back the globe and some rubbish counter arguments from the flat Earth side, it, yes, does make a bit of a mockery of it, but it still brings it to the attention of a huge number of people that might very well go and have a look at some of the videos or do a bit of research themselves off the back of it.
Yes. That is a distinct possibility. It could also be that he simultaneously used it as a media strategy because even he knows, however, maybe somebody within Google told him this, that if you portray ridiculous flat earth stuff, you will be upped in the search results, and there seem to be a lot of searches for flat earth. Otherwise, they wouldn't need this kind of strategy to discourage it, basically. So maybe he did it for the same reason as Sheeps and Neeps is bringing
He doesn't
forth
need
this
to.
ridiculous.
But he doesn't need to. He's
new
the number one
topic.
YouTuber, so he doesn't need to employ that strategy. Almost anything he releases, because he's a good YouTuber. I mean, I don't, you know, I'm not going to knock his style. It's not my style, but ultimately he's good at what he does. So therefore, almost anything he puts out at the moment, he's on fire. It will get views, so he doesn't have to kind of, you know. On the other hand, you can tell that he does do a bit of research into what he's looking at. Well,
Maybe.
so
But greed doesn't have any limits. So if he thought, hey, I can get more audience, I'm just going to do it. Why not? I can do it. I can get away with it. Nobody really cares.
I think it's the other way around.
So-
If you're number one, getting more audience, it's kind of, you know, well, where are you going to go from there? Other than you can then spread a message potentially to a new audience of flat Earth. So the other way around. But you know, I'm speculating
Flat Earthers
along
are talking
Stephen's...
about him now. We are even. So yeah,
Exactly.
it worked. Everybody's
Exactly.
now talking among us is talking about him instead of just plain ignoring him.
Exactly. So he's, well, yeah, we're both right. He will increase his audience. We're now talking about him. Therefore, people who may never well have heard of PewDiePie at all will potentially look at who the hell is this PewDiePie guy, just to find he's an absolutely enormous YouTuber. But he's still spread the message. He's still put a seed into many people's minds about this topic. For all we know, he is a flat earther and he's watching all these shows. You just don't know.
Maybe. That would
Shout out
be
to
really
PewDiePie.
funny. Maybe he's one of the trolls in chat.
Maybe. Hit the super chat if you're watching.
It's never shown his face. Maybe he's one of the trolls that never shows his face.
Let me just read some messages before they go off the top of the screen, the page. Was Dr. Hugo Bones says, quote, "Can you quit making the claim that all water conducts electricity unless providing proof improves it? If water didn't conduct electricity, then you would never get lightning. Lightning always comes from a cloud of water drop insulator that we're told it is. And I'm not saying it's not an insulator, but what I'm saying is you can do it with high voltage, because that's what of them, I tend to accept that that's probably true. But he's saying that water doesn't conduct, and it clearly does, but you just need more voltage. It takes a long time for it to work if you don't have the right voltage. But he also says underneath, I'll try and find it quickly, bear with me. Lightning cannot prove it, as it could be traveling through the air. I mean, it could be, but then you would see lightning other than straight lines, wouldn't you, right? I know they're not dead straight, but the other line he said, which was interesting, was... Where is it? Quick. I might have missed it, but... yeah, the thing is with the water, we do see that lightning couldn't come out of clouds of water, so it does seem to do conductivity, but it usually more voltage. Anyway, wanted to address that one.
What's
What's air?
Yeah,
Air.
what's
It's dirty.
Oh, you mean air?
Air.
Dirty
Okay.
air.
Yeah.
Air.
U-double-R.
You can say it the way you say it. It's just
It's hard to pronounce, to be honest. Air. Anyway.
now you just stick to
Somebody said that I did a really bad Scottish accent as well. They thought I was doing Irish, which is terrible. Shout out to the guy that thought I was doing Irish.
Right, Riley, can I ask where does the way you do the alk thing, where does that come from? And,
Jose.
oh, that's how he says it?
Hey, Jose.
It comes from him.
Hey, can we get one real quick?
Okay. If you watch any of his videos, he always introduces, like, you know, like everyone's got their own way of introducing. You have to say something to get yourself going. He normally says something like, hello everyone, Alki here. Because hello everybody, it's Alki here. And you just watch any of his videos, he does it quite a lot in all of them. It's funny. I just think it's really sinister.
Hilarious.
Feel free to join, Ronnie, if you want to ask me something.
So there's plenty of room in here.
Ronnie is in Ronnie and Awake Souls.
Yeah, Limitless channel.
Oh, is that who that is? Oh, right. I didn't realize that they were one and the same.
Well,
Does he
there
ever
are
join?
two people.
Because he's always in the chat talking all types of crap. Like, does this guy ever even come in?
Who?
Yeah, Ronnie's been in. Ronnie's participated.
Cool.
I'm just gonna have a quick look on Google to see what the conductivity of pure water is. See if it gives a value.
You're gonna Google it like a baller.
Yeah.
Very experimental. Love it.
Jump in the bathtub and take a toaster with you and see what happens.
That won't be pure water though, will it? That's not pure water.
It's got soap in it.
Well, no, it means like distilled, completely pure. There's a word for it. It's just eluding me at the minute.
It says pure water is not a good conductor of electricity. Ordinary distilled water in equilibrium with carbon dioxide of the air has a conductivity of about 10 times 10 to the minus 6. And then there's more stuff, symbols and letters and stuff. And I don't understand what it means. I just know that it's not a good conductor. Because the electrical current is transported by the ions in the solution, the conductivity increases as the concentration of ions increases, which is why the electrolyte solution or whatever to make the conductivity. But I think what Sheeps is thinking is that because you have to put the electrolyte in there, it makes it a compound. Therefore, it must be an element when it's not got the electrolytes in it. And I think that might be where the mistake's going in. I mean, I'm not saying it is, but that appears to be what it is.
Yeah, because the electrolytes stay behind. So if you use salt to create the conductivity, and you evaporate, or no, not evaporate, you turn the water into the gases, then eventually the water will become more and more salt, until eventually, if the salt, goes over the solution threshold, it will start to crystallize again at the bottom. So the salt definitely does not form into the gas.
So, do we need to take distilled water baths? Like when we have a bath, we need distilled water in there.
Not unless you're going to be making toast while you're in there.
Just think of how many lives would be saved worldwide.
It wouldn't stay distilled very long if you put it in a bathtub. It would just leach. If you're in a plastic in a plastic bath, it would just leach the plastics. So distilled water tends to. It's like a sponge in a way. If you put it in a plastic bottle, it'll leach the plastic out of the bottle. So hence people end up storing it in glass bottles to try and avoid that.
Indeed.
But you could put it in a ceramic bathtub.
Estrogen mimicking chemical leaches out of the flexible types of plastics,
Yeah,
which
well,
are
I've heard
used
mixed
for the
opinions
water
about.
bottles.
I've heard mixed opinions about drinking it as well, because it'll presumably do the same thing inside you and try and reabsorb certain minerals from you, but other people swear by it, so
Yeah, it is true. Yeah, people just need minerals, and just like when it's really hot and you drink a lot of water, it's just going to evaporate really quickly, or you're going to be pissing it out really quickly unless you take an amount of minerals, which can be also salt, with that, and then your body is able to contain it. It's just how it works. You need the minerals. It's a critical part of your body's functioning, your metabolism.
Shout out to Alan B. Sleeping Warrior, great show again. Zero content. Yeah, great for doxing people, Alan B.
Don't feed the troll.
Yes.
I just want to address this comment. It says from Shane Walter. He says it's also to do with the weights, the atomic weights. I think Adam dealt with that yesterday and said that the atomic weights is only part of it, because there's something called dissolved. There's dissolved solids or whatever, or dissolved something or other. I mean, I'm going to butcher the explanation now, but the weights were dealt with yesterday, as far as I'm aware. Apparently, he's just got it wrong. He hasn't considered some other element of the weights argument. He needs to look further into it. But I'm not going to profess to know the answer. I'm not even going to try and paraphrase it, because, to be honest, I was listening, but I just wasn't listening. But the weights he seems to have got it wrong with the weights. Anyway. Shout out to Patricia in chat. I can see her too. So is Ronnie going to come in and tell us all these revelations that he's talking about in chat? Let's see what he's got to say about it.
Yeah, feel free to join Ronnie and strawman the hell out of us with the AE map.
Is Ronnie the guy? Is he the guy that makes claims like Awake Souls does, where he says such and such a body, right? And then whatever the claim is, and then says you haven't disproved me, therefore it's true, kind of thing. Like, he makes the claim, and unless we can debunk it, it's therefore true. Or is that just Awake Souls that does that?
That's just Awake Souls.
Shout out to Awake Souls.
No.
Shout out to Tracked.
Valued viewers.
What?
Valued viewers. Thanks for tuning in. Like if you like the show, dislike if you disliked it.
Well, I'll give that science teacher another shout out, just because I know it'll annoy Sheeps. Sheeps thinks that I shouldn't be shouting out people like this because they're the enemy. Well, actually, we need to have the conversation about the evidences that support versions of events that are claimed to be true. So we need to have people that are polite and affable on the other side.
Yeah, but shouldn't you then shout out people that are actually capable of holding a conversation instead of just getting in here and rumpusing around and shitting all over the place?
Shout out to people that interrupt people mid-sentence.
Are you shouting out at yourself?
Hey, no tussling in the trenches, please.
Hey guys, question. Because I have heard all my life that you have to drink water. You must drink water. You must drink this amount of water to survive and to perform well. Now, in the last maybe 2 or 3 years, I haven't drink water. I don't drink water. I mean, I substitute water because I drink sodas like Coca-Cola, and I drink energy drinks. Every once in a while I drink juice like orange juice, but I do not drink water. If I'm at work and I'm really thirsty and I'm walking by a water fountain, I maybe have a little sip, like that's it. But I really do not drink water, and I feel good,
One of my grandmas was the same thing. She hated drinking water. She never did it. She always wanted coffee or something. Weird. Some
Yeah,
people.
I mean, yeah, the people tell me you have to drink water because you're gonna die. I say I haven't died in 3 years. I don't drink water, even though I know there's water. It's water based, the sodas and shit, and I'm killing myself. I know it, but yeah,
And I knew this guy once too. It's like 20 years ago, like a Spaniard, and he never drank water either. He only drank wine. How do you
That's
do
called
that
being an
without drinking
alcoholic.
water?
That's an
Yeah,
alcoholic.
but how do you even do that physically? Maybe you should ask Jazz.
Wasn't he? He was absolutely sozzled yesterday. That's the most drunk I think he's ever been on the show. I'm sure he's been a lot more
that
drunk.
was really sad. Yeah, I wasn't in the show yesterday. I watched it after work, and it was ridiculous. And this other guy that has some letters and numbers on it, he came to just disrupt the piece in the show. That was ridiculous. Bad performance.
Yeah, it's pretty
He's a
sad.
bad man.
Maybe it's the heat at the moment. We've got sheeps and neeps picking fights with science teachers.
Shout out to Sheeps and Neeps.
Is Sheeps and Neeps #1 in the Google search then? Is he pretty high up there, Arwen?
I haven't checked it yet. Maybe I'm gonna.
We're just speculating about his motives, Dan. It's not that we actually search for him.
No, I don't either.
To be honest, I think he's a guy he's obviously got a pride and an ego, right? And I don't think he's going to like the idea that someone's actually challenging the claim that he's making. But at the end of the day, what do you expect if someone's making the claim that water's not hydrogen? I mean, it's one of the most basic things, and I'm not saying he's wrong, but if you're going to challenge that basic concept that most people generally accept is obviously true because it's one of the empirical sciences that we can test, then you are going to generate some awareness to your plight if you're going to claim one of the most rudimental chemistry elements is wrong. So I don't know, because you've got this pride thing and this ego thing, to come out fighting is typical of that kind of mentality. But really, you should be looking into the arguments for why you may be wrong and challenging to see whether you are actually wrong, rather than trying to fight somebody that's just showing you that you might have got something wrong. Come on.
Well, the reason I'm behind this is because my experience with Sheeps and Neeps was, I won't even try and remember what I disagreed with him about, but he came out with some concept or some crazy notion, and I said, I don't think that's correct. He got very angry and said, why are you disagreeing with me? You're a flat earther. In other words, the assumption was that because I believe the earth is flat, that would mean that I would agree with him on any nonsense that he spouted.
Oh, right. The way you said that, I
That
interpreted
sounds like a formological fallacy.
it
Yeah.
sounded like he was saying that he was a baller.
No. So he was essentially saying, you and I have an allegiance. We both understand that the earth is flat. Therefore, my assertion that, I don't know, what's on screen now? Chemtrails. My assertion that chemtrails are toxic must be accepted. And I would go, well, I don't accept that just because you've asserted it. And he said, well, why not? I'm a flat earther. You're a flat earther. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but what I'm trying to put across is that he assumed that because we were both flat earthers, I would agree with his crazy nonsense.
Yeah.
My experience with him was in Jamie Brown's chat. I mean, I was like merrily plotting along with Jamie Brown about different topics in flat Earth and whatnot, and in comes this guy and a guy called Aeon or something like that, and then there was a third guy, and basically it was 3-1. It was three of them onto me, and one of them asked the question, "What's your view on a rather famous flat earther that's a female that basically gets all the questions about it, which is just nonsense?" And I said that exact thing. I said, this is complete nonsense. I'm a 37-year-old bloke, and I can tell the sex of somebody by looking at them, generally speaking, and I don't have any queries over that one particular person. And I think if you're struggling at this age to work it out, then you've got a rudimental and fundamental issue that I learned when I was about 15. But because I stood my ground against three of them, the three of them just literally tore into me like packs of wolves. One of them was sheeps. And basically, it was like, I cannot believe that three so-called flat earthers would be so vitriolic just because I wouldn't agree with them that said female may not be what it appears to be. And I was like, if you can't work that out, guys, you guys are utter morons. But what was bizarre was, in the one hand, he was crazy with me that day, and Aeon and somebody else, I can't remember who the other guy was. But when we were in somebody else's hangout, some ballers came in, and oddly, he jumped straight to my side, and it was me and Sheeps against the ballers, and we kicked their ass. But once they left, he went back to being, yeah, you're still a cunt though. And I was like, yeah, no worries, bye. And his alter ego kicked in when he was flat earther, because he did become on my side. We both battered them, and it was all, I think it was Jeremy and somebody else, I can't remember now, but he's flipped to being my friend when we were on topic. But once the ballers are gone, he flipped back and said, yeah, you're still a cunt though. And I was like, well, no worries. But so I was used by his approach, because I mean, come on.
Shout out to John for the super chat. Try not to swear. I know I only have the swearing rule for people who are triggered, and I totally get that you're not triggered now, but it's just nice to not have terrible language. I know I'm guilty of it too before the chat goes nuts.
Well, I'm just putting it in the context in which it was said.
I know.
Because it flows off his tongue like adjectives and nouns.
He's a very sweary guy, isn't he?
Yeah, unnecessarily.
That said, the Seeker Ninja put a compilation together of all of my best sweary moments. So thanks for that, the Seeker Ninja.
And then he probably followed it up right at the very end with you introducing, saying, "No swear, please do not swear."
No, he didn't do it. It wasn't like that. He had me in all the cars that I've had. So my wife's got a nice car, which is about 15 years old. It's an Audi, and therefore she likes to get it serviced at the Audi garage for a number of reasons. And if I ever take it, they'll give me a really nice car to drive, and I like to film them, and I'll stick a video up with the nice car that they've given me from Audi. So he's taken all of those clips of, well, one of them was actually my wife's car, but he's taken all these different clips of me in different Audis that are quite posh and all shiny, and put them together, and it's like, yeah, it gives the impression that I've got 4 cars or something crazy, but in reality I don't actually own a car at all. I have no car. I walk everywhere.
The police weren't at your door at 5 o'clock this morning by any chance, were they, Nate?
Well, they weren't here to get a car, as I don't own one. They weren't picking up my Ferrari, no.
Hey, I see there's a super chat that you missed.
No, I did. I said thanks to John. I just muted you guys so I could actually say it. I waited for a pause and then just said it over the top of you. Sorry.
Anyway, so is there any ballers that want to join with evidence of R, evidence of gravity, axial rotation, or do you just want to talk about satellites and how technology must work because it's a ball? Presuppose that R.
I mean, I'm more happy to point out that they're not joining because they don't have any evidence. That's the point we're at. Essentially, what we're standing in is like a no man's land with globe heads all sprawled all over the floor with their heads decapitated. That's what we're currently standing in. Big pool of blood, and no one wants to come near it. Who can blame them?
Sounds very dark, Nathan.
Well, that's what's happened. We've just decapitated, absolutely metaphorically, decapitated a load of globe heads.
Do you know what I really love, though? I love it when they claim that they're not coming in because Nathan's so aggressive and so rude and vile and vitriolic and all that. And I'm like, well, actually, it's because you start talking nonsense that he gets triggered. Start talking truth and with evidence to support your views and beliefs and opinions, and then he wouldn't get triggered. He can have the conversation. It's just that you all come in with the same mentality. It's like you've all been to the school of rumpusness, and you've all graduated with honours and then come out the other end of it complete and utter morons. And then you wonder why he's aggressive with you. It's like he isn't like that with everybody. He's just like that with rumpus students.
Why would you need insight or smarts when you can just pretend to be very smart and be very noisy and fall off yourself? That's the rumpus school.
And just keep repeating gravity.
No.
Gravity.
No. Bad example.
Might be one of those quiet shows today, the ones that don't move that much, because although I noticed that Rumpus has been kicked without even speaking the last few times. So whoever's been kicking him,
me.
I think that's probably
me.
Well, me.
Yeah.
No, it was me.
We're all fighting ourselves to kick the rumpus, and the reason is simple. Because we often get called liars. Even when we concede something where we are wrong, we still get called liars. All the time. And Rumpus is a liar. Now, for those who have watched this show for its duration will know the promises that he has come in and made, the explanations he has assured us he has given already on pre-recorded hangouts that then never surface. You know, he will provide this, but is then when he comes back, he's been very busy and wants to argue about the point in hand and talk over everybody without having provided anything he's promised. So essentially, Rumpus is a liar, and that's just not acceptable. You know, it's different to being disingenuous, which all of them are. He is actually a liar. He said he would do something, he hasn't done it. So as far as I'm concerned, it's like, why would I allow him to come in non-stop talking over everybody, closing the gate in the hangout so I can never be heard?
There's another thing about it, and that is that he always seems to appear in the show right in the middle of a conversation we are having with somebody else. And then when it gets heated, then he gets in and totally tries to derail it. Well, if he just join in a pause, like right now, and there's nothing really happening, and just start a discussion, then we might actually let him stay for a few minutes.
Well, the other thing to remember with Rumpus is he actually claimed that he'd been to space. And we were like, what? So
Wishful thinking.
He re-asked him, what did you just say? Did you just say you've been to space? And he said, yes. And he realized immediately that it was a mistake because he was going to get jumped all over. But he doubled down on it. He said, yes, space. Really? Did you go last weekend? Yeah, I went to space too.
But he said he's still holding on to that because he said it more often.
I've got to be honest as well. I like the fact that he's got the Rampaging Rumpus account because it must mean that he's been banned everywhere else. Was that an elephant or a motorbike?
A bike. I don't have elephants just walking around outside.
It sounded like an elephant going. Or maybe it was just me.
Maybe it's your stomach. Yeah.
Rawr.
Usually it's Alan B that makes those stupid jokes. So. But he's not allowed in here anymore, so I have to take over that role for Lil.
The doxing Alan B.
So what's the score with Alan B? Because you've kicked him a couple of days in a row now, Arwin.
Well, he's trying to use doxing as a weapon, isn't he?
Oh, right, yes, I do remember now. Sorry, Arwin, I should really remember the feuds that have gone on this show. My bad.
No, that's fine. I think he's literally a waste of space anyway. So.
Hey, Spurs, how you doing?
Spuds.
Hey, how's it going? Is this the second half or the first half?
The
First half.
Have you not been keeping up to date? Come on.
No, I've just come in.
We got roughly 10 more minutes or something for the break. Yes.
So what's new, Spurs? Did you find your hangout with Awake Souls to be constructive in any way whatsoever at all?
Well, that's what I wanted to discuss. He still seems to have a chip on his shoulder or something like that. And I'm trying to find out why. I was trying to ask him, why would he approach any flat earther and say that there are fake flat earthers? Flat earthers have got the wrong idea. I said to him, if he has a model, Nathan will challenge anybody who says that they have, anybody would challenge anybody who says they have a model, a working model of reality. That's the point, right? I think, right? We can assume. And his problem is that flat earthers are supporting a model. When really? Said, well, yeah, I've said to him numerous times, have you not heard the show where we don't adhere to any model unless we actually went out there and proved scientifically, which we haven't done thus far. And I've said this, it seems to be a bit of a shock to ball earthers that flat earthers are flat earthers without evidence. So it sounds strange a little bit.
That's not true. We have evidence.
No, hold on. Whoa. What I mean is, originally, how flat earthers came into this wasn't because, well, for me, I should speak for me, I should say, it wasn't because we had scientific evidence or anything like that. We understood that there was a lie. There wasn't any evidence for the globe. So, because
it was more like the lack of evidence.
Right. So because of this argument of us debunking the globe, so to speak, we've given room for people like Awake Souls to even entertain the idea of a working model. and I couldn't understand why he would call out, or I don't know, I don't see his angle. So yeah, he wasn't really making any sense in terms of flat Earth as being fake. But I think his problem was more that he wants to get his model across the platforms. I have a model.
That's why he's just told me that that's not true. So in the chat I've said, models are pseudoscience. I was trying to interrupt you, Spurs, my bad. But yeah, and his answer was, that's a lie, as in models are not pseudoscience. It's like, okay, well, you can, in theory, call a science a model if you have scientific validation for that model based on systematic experimentation, based on a hypothesis. So if you have a scientific model, Matt, prove me wrong. Show me that scientific model with your independent variable valid through experimentation. Yeah, okay. I look forward to it.
Right.
From what I understand, his model, his Earth layout is based on a holographic concept. So yeah, we're going to prove that physically.
The irony of him calling you out or any other flat earther out, and then immediately go into his what I thought was a pseudoscience element. Immediately go into his.
Hello.
Hey, Jeremy. Can you mute your watch page?
Hello.
Hello, Jeremy. Can you mute your watch page? I'm going to have to stick you on mute just while you sort it out. But yeah, mute your watch page, my friend.
So the irony is he wants to call out other flat earthers for whatever reason, supporting a model, or whatever it is he thinks that we're doing. And then he wants to present his case as scientific fact. So it was interesting that we had a Glober on the panel as well. So, the Global was like, well, explain to me your model and so on and so forth. And then they ended up discussing for 15, 20 minutes. So it kind of showed my point was being proven live there, because I was saying to him, you need to be able to debunk the globe before you can bring a model that people will take seriously. And he's like, oh, we've done it. Well, I was like, well, what have you done? He's like, oh, we've proved that the globe is a lie. I'm like, well, to who? And so he seems to think that he's done the work. He's taken on the best mind, so-called minds, and now he's done that job, and now he feels he has a model. But he was trying to explain this model with a load of presuppositions. He was like saying, well, you have to something become a bit philosophical in some sense. But I was asking, how does the water, how is it contained? And I didn't get to finish, but I think he was saying there's parallel Earths next to each other, I think. Something like this.
Like the multiverse or something?
Yeah, something like multiverse or different Earths. So that would mean, I wanted to ask, does that mean there's another me, another you? But that again, it wasn't scientific in any way. So I just let the Glober and Jason discuss it. But he wants to debate you, Nathan, which I think is pointless. I think the usual platform as you have, where he can come on and discuss his model. I think with flat earthers, there's no debate. It's more of a discussion. If he has an idea, he should present it. If we understand it, or if the community, or if anybody understands it and it makes sense to them, well, then he shouldn't have a problem. But his idea of just calling out flat earthers, fake flat earthers. I mean, what is a fake flat earther? We simply don't know where we live. We know we're not on the globe. So what do you think? What do you think about debating him, Nathan? Because he's been calling that out for a long, long time. He's now.
I think he's not.
There's a link in the info box, so all are welcome. Anybody can join. Yes, there are a couple of exceptions, but it's certainly not the rule. Anybody can join. He's welcome to join. So if he wants to join and debate me, he's in the chat right now. There's a link in the info box right now. He could join right now. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. If you hated the show, then you know exactly what to do. But if you liked the show, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you have not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!